So continuing on with the story about everything that has transpired and happened, because my phone I have so many photos on my phone and my storage is so full that I'm like, I need to delete stuff, and then the phone battery dies and I have to charge it. So now I'm doing part 3 of this situation, because it's important, I think, to get my story out, because I do feel like sincerely my life and Bonnie's life is being threatened, and people are just sitting back and just watching what happens and treating it like some reality TV show of survival of the fittest. And I'm like, what do people do? Like, are they gonna sit back and never tell me the truth, or are they gonna just like allow this shit to happen? So anyways, I left off at the part when we had this weird incident happen at the restaurant I worked at, where the power went out randomly, and also in my home, like randomly at night, the lights would flicker, like as if someone was messing with it, and I'd say his name, I'd be like, stop messing with the lights, and then the lights would go back to normal. So either I was dealing, or I am dealing with, a very high level hacker who is, really good at creating illusions, and he's like a super genius, involved in criminal activities, however you want to, go about that. And I unfortunately fell victim to narcissism, I guess. But when you're well connected to people, they say that people in high and low places. I guess I don't know. I'm gonna put my phone here for a second. So, basically, because I was so distraught, I stayed at that restaurant, the Paracones restaurant, until October 2022. Some of the people I waited on, I felt like they knew about my situation. I did report it to FBI. I actually called them. I called the office, the FBI field office in Miami, and I was like, hi, how do I know that, I put this thing in because the detective told me to, and they're like, hi, this is the Federal Bureau. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, am I going to hear back from somebody? I was like, I put in this inquiry, X amount of times, of whatever, months ago, or 2-3 months ago. I go, am I going to be like, is someone going to contact me, or how does this work, And they're like, the girl's like, well, we can't exactly tell you about if something's going to be investigated, but you'll more than likely know if it is. And I'm like, that's really obscure and ambiguous. How do I go about that? She's like, well, like I said, I can't really disclose the nature of your situation, but if you did put a complaint in, it's most likely it will get reviewed by one of our analysts, and then if they deem necessary, then they will reach out to you as appropriate. I'm like, so I didn't hear back. I thought I was, in my world, I'm like, oh, anything's possible, I'll hear back soon or whatever. Never did. Never did. And in fact, stuff that would come up on my YouTube feed would be like, it would say FBI, Federal Boob Inspector. That's the stuff that would come up. Or like, it said scammer calls the FBI, and I'm like, I'm not a scammer. I don't know why someone would insinuate that, because I don't know. I don't do that. I'm the person to probably give money to people that need it, not to take it. So, again, I don't know if there was a misunderstanding. I don't know if someone tried to frame me for something. No one's given me any answers to anything. When I did, I tried to get help from the Coral Gables police. My mom had opened the letter already for me, and she said, you're not going to like this. And they go, oh, we couldn't find whatever. And that's when I basically took matters into my own hands, and I became my own, detective, essentially. I'm not a detective, but I trained myself, because in anything in life, when I don't know something, I apply myself to it, and I am diligent. I always like to say in my cover letters, I'm relentless in the pursuit of excellence, meaning I will do my best to figure shit out. If it gnaws away at me incessantly, I will do it. And that goes, and I never realized how truly brave and strong and courageous I've been, because I mean, think about it. Like, if it's really true, like everything that I ascertain is correct, and this guy really is a drug, whatever the heck, that means that he's well connected to the community. That means that he knows people, that he could maybe crooked cops, this and that, and which doesn't make. I mean, I don't know. I'm like, sometimes I wonder, was he an informant or something? I don't know. I don't want to go down that lane, but for me, it doesn't justify the abuse that was inflicted upon me because of this one individual. Like I literally, my whole life, I had to stop my life. Everything that was near and dear to me, I had to stop. I left Miami. I got hired at a wonderful facility in Philadelphia. So Cincinnati Children's, Boston Children's. It's like when I used to do musical theater. I don't do musical theater anymore. And dance was more my thing anyways, because I loved ballet and jazz and point, tap, and all that stuff. But when I did it, I remember you have your schools that everyone wants to go to, right? Like there was Carnegie Mellon, there was Point Park, there was Juilliard, there's AMDA, Boston Conservatory, like the same thing, but in the child life world. It was Boston Children's Hospital, Cincinnati Children's National, CHOP. I worked at CHOP. I have nothing bad to say about the hospital. In fact, I fangirled so much when I was there. And I had the shirt, I had the cute badge, I had the scrubs. I worked with a team of women who, I felt so grateful to be part of a team. They made me feel so welcome. They decorated my desk. I had this beautiful apartment, floor to ceiling windows, and a high rise, and I could afford it. I was making $67,000. That was my salary. It was going to be $67,000. And because of fear and the abuse and the hacking and the paranoia and all that, I couldn't take it. And and these women, like, I'd never been part of a group before like that. Like, these were the kind of women that were like, hey, let's go get Starbucks. And we went together as a team and we got to know each other. And when in middle school, I was the kind of person that was bullied in middle school. Or not, maybe other people didn't notice it, but I felt it. I didn't feel welcomed. Everyone had their cliques. I went to a private Catholic school and everyone had their cliques. And I wasn't, as welcomed as I could be, and I lost friends, in that respect. And to be a part of a group or a team of individuals, especially, when you work at a research based hospital or a college, university affiliated hospital, I don't know, they go about it differently. Like, people are more invested in innovation and creativity, and there's a certain level of professionalism that everyone carries, because everyone's impassioned about progression and moving forward, and trying to find solutions to problems. Like, they really do care about healthcare. That's what I've noticed at public research universities, and also hospitals that are university affiliated, and I lost that opportunity. I didn't lose it. I resigned on my own volition after 3 months. And then after that, everything started to just go downhill. And I mentioned this before in my other videos, and it's just, after that, the targeting, and then I felt like I had fake people around me. I didn't trust the people in my building. There was a weird guy, who, there's a weird guy who was in the elevators who gave me the heebie-jeebies. He was weird, and he had like bodyguards with him in the elevator, these tall dudes that were as tall as basketball players. And he gave me the heebie-jeebies. And he wore these like rose-tinted sunglasses, and he had a dog, like a pit bull, with him. Hi, Bibber. It was very strange. you know? And the fact that I sit back and I go, people have the audacity to say that this was a joke. This was not a joke. This was not a joke at all. I mean, like right now I have, well, let me not lean forward. Let me sit up straight because that's not good for my posture. So, but, I feel this, and it's not, I'm not anxious right now at all. Like, I'm pretty calm. You could see me. I'm not, like, you know, stressed out too much. But I drank some milk, you know, not regular, it was a plant-based milk, nut-free, dairy-free, glycophosphate-free, and I also drank some Powerade, and there should be no issues with those things. And I feel like as I drink them, and I also ate some cereal, my chest feels constricted. I feel weak all over in my body and my chest. And I remember last night I looked at my arms and my veins are like, look, you could see them. Do you see my veins like protruding? Like you could see that. You could see the bluish tint. Do you see this? The bluish tint? And this is what I mean by I feel like poisoning. So when your body goes cyanotic, it means there's a lack of oxygen. And what happens is if you get poisoned, you get a lack of oxygen. Even my skin, if you look at my skin, it's kind of like, I know it doesn't look like it now, but I've had bluish tint. So it's scary, you know, and I don't know what can of worms I opened after I reached out to people for help and I came up short. And now I'm sitting here in Chicago, which no offense to Chicago, it was a wonderful city when I was here years ago. I wanted to move here years ago, but that was when it was called Siberia and it was so cold because my brother moved here. And now I am baffled because I feel like I could lose my life. I've been poisoned on numerous occasions, like in an Airbnb in Indiana that I later got booted from, you know, a little bit earlier because I told her and I said, hey, the water seems a little dirty, and I had proof and evidence of it. Like legit, the water had like dirt and soot. It came out brown, and I would feel really weak after I took a shower. I was scared that the landlord was, because I saw a vision of him, you know, like in the show That's So Raven, when the old show on Disney Channel, when she'd have visions, I saw a vision of a guy with like black gloves on. I could feel someone in my apartment touching things and putting toxins and poisons on my stuff. I know that's crazy to say that, but I won't say I'm like a super psychic, but like I saw that in my mind's eye. And I had a really scary incident where I literally almost suffocated to death when I went downstairs in the basement of that Airbnb because the laundry was downstairs. And this is I'm fast forwarding to like when, like almost present day, a few months prior. It was so scary because I legitimately almost fainted and suffocated. Because I started to fade. I got tunnel vision. I almost like saw stars basically. And I ran up the stairs of the Airbnb, and then because I lived on the second floor, and I don't know what I did to help keep myself alive, but it was terrifying. I thought it was cyanide, I'll be honest. I thought it was cyanogen gas or something. To say, like, I'm a walking miracle, you know. I'm not a chemist, I'm not a scientist, so I don't have those things at my disposal. I just don't know how it got to this point. Where I'm sharing my story with a bunch of strangers on an online platform, like a video web service, but you know, here we are. Do I need rescuing? I mean, at this point, you know, I look at myself as a strong, independent woman. I don't want to rely on a man or anything, but at this point, I wish people would be brave and step up to the plate, because I'm being brave. And I'm tired of people saying it's a simulation and we're just putting you through an exercise. It's a joke. It's not a funny joke. If I have cyanosis and I have poison running through my veins, that's not funny. That's not a joke. If I get in an elevator, and that's what I'm scared of, is getting in, I get scared of elevators, because when I was in Virginia and I lived in an elevator, I hope I never lived in an elevator. When I lived in a building where I would frequently use the elevator, I was exposed to, I think, ammonia gas and sulfur, because it smelled like rotten eggs. And the crazy part is I did really nothing wrong. I'm not, like, I asked myself, is this something political? But I'm not even I'm not in politics. Like, I don't do anything political. I give everyone a fair chance, you know. Literally, I give everyone a fair chance. I try to. You know, no matter what your party is or things like that, So, yeah. But I ended up, I went to Philly. I didn't have any weird food problems there. I did get kind of like, I was kind of watched a few times. Like when I would buy groceries, I had like, there was a security guard who would like go up and down the aisle and like go where I was going, if that makes sense. Like I'd be getting like pet food or dog food, and then like the security guy would just randomly be there, and I was like, is he following me? Like, it was just weird stuff like that would happen, and I'd have helicopter activity over the building. That one, the HVAC system in that one was really funky, like really weird. So like I would feel really cold air, like, and then I remember I got my lungs checked out. I got a chest x-ray and she said, you have hyperinflation, like, which is like, there's like damage, and you know, and then she took it back and she redacted it and she was like, no, everything's fine. I'm like, no. And weird police activity also in Philly. Like I felt like there was one car that looked like a jalopy. It was like super run down and it looked like an old police car, and it like followed me when I went to Cape May, New Jersey for like a day and a half or 2 days to go to the beach because I just needed reprieve for myself. And I'm gonna try to keep this short because I know my storage is getting full, so it's any second it's gonna say storage full. So, but anyways, I ended up moving, you know, all over it. But I just to go about Cape May, when I was in Cape May, New Jersey, I had weird people in unmarked cars, like black SUVs and white SUVs, like tail me. One guy, like, he got close to me, he didn't turn on his siren. I don't know if he was a police officer, it could have just been an unmarked car, you know, but it made me think police vibes. And he went around me and he made some gesture through the thing, and I'm like, what did I do to you, bro? Like, you know. I stayed at a VRBO, like a little cottage that was attached to, it was lovely, but even there I would have weird gas issues. Like the air was like super, if it was piercing, I don't know how to describe it. It was like super cold. I thought it was nitrous gas, and then I'm like, is it some other thing, you know? But maybe it was non-toxic, I don't know. I would bring my little air quality meters everywhere with me because I was petrified of it. In the cars, the rental cars I've been in, those were weird too. I would have to keep the windows down. I had a mask on my face, my sunglasses to, you know, because I've gotten in the cars and my eyes were stinging, and sometimes I felt like someone put pepper spray in the air vents, so like I couldn't even breathe right. It was daunting. It was petrifying. Even in Philly too, one of the guys, when I was walking Bonnie, a cop gave me the meanest look, and I go, what did I do? I go, what did I do? I was like, what did I, you know? I was like, why am I being tormented? Like, I go, they have the wrong person. Like, I don't, like, what happened, you know? Even at the hospital, when I worked at the hospital in Philly, like, there was a bunch of cops. Like, one day there were so many cops that just appeared out of nowhere. And I'm like, what is going on? I did date a little bit over there. Didn't amount to anything. Eventually, I decided to move. One guy's dog, the weirdo guy that was in Philly, the older guy with the bodyguards, his dog almost attacked me. I complained about that. The dog wasn't that friendly. It was a pit bull. And then I moved to Virginia because I was kind of at odds with my parents. And it's weird because my parents are the type of people, they help me move everywhere. They've cleaned the apartments, they have helped rented a car, and we drove to Virginia. I lived in a place called Mosaic. It was very loud though. People were drag racing all the time and going with their engines. I decided to get almost certified and to teach English abroad because I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I sold all my furniture, tried to almost come back to live here to Chicago to live with my brother. He said he was open to it, then he said no because they had their own dog, and I told them what happened. They're like, no, maybe that's not a good idea. So then stopped talking to him. Was poisoned numerous times in Virginia. I ordered empanadas, got super sick from empanadas, like horrible stomach cramps, pain, horrible pain. Had a Shake Shack shake, horrible, like threw up, vomiting, sweating, vomiting. It was horrible. And I said, I think someone put some, the word that came out was hydrochloric acid, but someone put something in there. And I love Shake Shack, I'll be honest. I was avidly buying Shake Shack almost like every once a week or twice a week. It was so good. I love Shake Shack. And I have yet to buy it here because I'm so afraid of like what could happen, with the meat or the milkshakes. And plus it's kind of expensive, but, and I like to use coupons and stuff. But anyway, so, Virginia was also just a hot mess too. A lot of people would also, for some reason, I kept seeing people with cancer shirts. Like I went and then I would go into Target and things would all in my face was like people wearing shirts about cancer. Like when they would pass me by, they would have shirts for like cancer support. I'm like, why am I seeing so many things about cancer support? I was very confused. Still I tried to work, I got a job at a childcare center. I was very grateful for that. Weird stuff happened over there. I'm not going to go into it. Ended up leaving April 2024 because my lease was up. Then I found a job in Vermont, and I was like, it was so random, like out of all places. And I'm like, why Vermont? I was like, I wanted to, in Gilmore Girls, they live in Stars Hollow in Connecticut, and I was like, I want to live in a small town. And I was like, well, let me do Vermont. I interviewed with 2 different schools, and I ended up finding housing through the mother-daughter team that I worked with, who initially I was so inspired by and impressed by because they seemed so, I don't know, I fangirled over them. I thought they were so cool. And then eventually that job didn't work out. I'm not going to get into too much to reasons why. And it wouldn't have worked out anyways because I had to walk like 20, 30 minutes almost to get there. And I think, it would have been better if I had a car. Ended up getting a remote job like after a year. Had too much PTSD to do the training. It was a 10-day intensive training, but it was such a good job. It was based out, it was with a startup based out of Boston, affiliated with Harvard. And I literally freaked out because a girl had the same yellow shirt as me. So I thought she was a gang stalker. I'm like, oh, she's a perp. So immediately I was like, I can't work here. I was like, I'm leaving. And it was a great job. I was going to have kids. It was social emotional coping. It was along the lines of child life therapy. And again, because of the PTSD and the triggers, I just couldn't do it. I cried and I was overwhelmed. And it's sad because it was all this material that I was learning about mental health and, OCD and, helping kids overcome anxiety and doing exposure therapy. And I was like, it was so cool, and I was gonna have my own like kids to work with the therapist, and it was a remote job too, and it was an awesome salary. It was like 60, like I don't know, it was 50,000 or 60,000 something dollars. But automatically I assumed the worst, you know. It's just really shitty, you know, like when you get betrayed and stuff, it's just, and I didn't want to be a bitch. I didn't want to be a shark and get back at anybody. I never tried to do that. You know, when people say, oh, you should get revenge and be a bitch. And I'm like, but I don't have that in me to do that. That's not my nature to be like that. I don't know how to be like that. I mean, I could try if I get really angry and provoked and perturbed. Yeah, you poke and prod me enough, you'll wake the bear in me or the puma, you know. But normally my temperament is very even keeled. I treat people with respect. I believe in kindness. I like to say my religion is kindness. And I didn't want to see this guy go to jail. I even told myself, if I do this report on this man, what is the community gonna think? What is his family gonna think? That was literally my thought process. I was like, what is this gonna do to him? Who thinks of that, you know? I just wanted to be left alone. I wanted my phone to be normal. And then all this other weird phenomena happens, like with the helicopters. Like I literally had Black Osprey military style helicopters come to my window in Philadelphia. Guy hanging out of it with a machine gun. And the sad part is that I am very, like, not to say pro-military, but I used to crush on guys in uniform. Oh my God, you show me a Marine with the little outfit, with the little hat, or like a Navy sailor, bro. Or the camo gear, whatnot, bro. That's like Abercrombie and Fitch, you know. And then so to be abused by what felt like maybe military personnel, possibly, unless they were pretending, and cops, to get nasty looks from cops. I go, what did I do wrong? I go, God, you gotta fill me in. And then the gases, I felt like I was being exposed to butane or aerosol or nitrous, and it would hurt my lungs so much. It was so cold. I would get headaches where I felt like my head would burst. And Vermont was, you know, I was in the middle of nowhere, like, not middle of nowhere, just, it was so different from Miami, and I cried a little bit when I got there, because I go, this is crazy, you know. And my parents, I wasn't talking to them at the time. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants, but I just felt like it was the right thing to do, because I needed to get away from city living. And I had this cute little duplex. I had my own side. I had my own little porch. I decorated the porch with like Christmas lights and Halloween lights, and you know, it wasn't, I didn't have the best experience, but I was able to cook. I was able to eat food. I went on SNAP. I had Medicaid. Like, I had support to some extent, you know. It wasn't perfect, but the landlord was very, you know, like, he actually, like, he worked with me, and if there was something wrong, he would send the people there to fix whatever it was. Like, I complained about there was like a wasp infestation in the side paneling of the wall. He came and he had the pest people fix it. I thought there was an air leak a few times. He had the people come and check it out, and they fixed it. I was able to walk Bonnie in the neighborhood, and, you know, not to say I didn't feel super welcomed, because I felt like I was in foreign territory. Like, I felt like I was in someone else's, you know, and I was this girl from, you know, this Miami 305 Latina girl in a rural town that I didn't know, and I tried to have respect for them. And I remember I made these little goodie bags for Halloween with like these little gifts in them, and I felt so proud of that, because I was like, you know, the child life activity assistant, child life specialist in me was like, I'm gonna make these little goodie bags, and I put a little tag on it with a little thing that's, you know. So I was so excited, and I spent money. It was like $200, but I was like, it's out of the goodness of my heart, and maybe I shouldn't have done it, but I was like, if I was a kid in the neighborhood, what would I do? I was gonna do cookies, but then I was like, I don't think the parents, what if kids were allergic to something in the cookies, you know, dairy, nuts, whatever. So I just I bought a little bunch of things on Amazon, and I put it on Nextdoor on the app, and I said, oh, I'm gonna be giving out little goodies, and they were like stress relief sensory toys for kids, and I did that. And then that was Halloween, right? And then Christmas time came. I did Christmas movie marathon with Bonnie. There was piles and oodles of snow everywhere. It was so new to me, and I tripped twice or 3 times. I slipped on my butt. That was kind of scary. I did date a bit, you know. I had better luck in Vermont dating than I did, I think, anywhere else. Funny enough. And you would think, well, it was close to Montreal. Vermont is the city, you know, I didn't realize how close it was to Montreal. And so I think I met people from there. I met people from different parts of Vermont, and I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the peace and quiet. I enjoyed being in the suburban area, even though my mom keeps reminding me, you're like, there was a drug bust a few blocks down, and you know, you were in a not great neighborhood. But you know what, to me, not to say I wouldn't want to live in an unsafe neighborhood, just I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it as the working class, as people with, you know, decent homes trying to make a living. And I will say this, they have excellent lights. Like, these people keep Christmas lights up, you know, year round, you know, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And I try to pay respect for people no matter what their socioeconomic status is, because everyone's trying, right? You know? And I would look at certain houses and they had the cutest little gardens, you know? It was enough for me, you know? And that's something I want to reiterate. What's good for you may not be good for me, meaning like what's good for one person may not be good for another person. And I tried to relay that sentiment to my family, my parents, and they don't get it, you know? But it was kind of cool just getting to be in a different state, and seeing a different way of life, you know. And the food was normal. I ordered food a lot through Instacart, and yes, I did use my credit cards, but it was an emergency. I needed to, like, I didn't have a choice, you know. I didn't look at that as stealing, and I keep wondering, am I being like abused because, you know, is someone getting back at me with my food because I'm, you know, I used a credit card, you know, there was like I had Chase Bank. I had like 4 different cards with Chase Bank. I had a Disney card, and I love Chase Bank. Like, I was so excited when I got I had my Marriott I had my Marriott card, my Disney Chase card, Amazon Prime, and Instacart. And I love those things because you get cashback rewards, you know, like loyalty points and stuff or whatever, and then that turns to cash and you could use it towards a statement. I loved it, you know. And I met some really amazing Instacart people. I ordered Domino's like a crazy person. I love their Domino's, are so good. I used to sit there, and in Vermont I was eating Domino's with Bonnie, and we'd watch movies, and I was just really hopeful that I was going to get a job, and I was diligent. I applied to over like 1,000 jobs at one point. It was crazy, which reminds me I need to do my virtual interview things, because I did get fortunately called back for some things, but I've been lazy this weekend because also trying to survive being poisoned. So, you know, fun times. It's kind of hard to focus on applying to jobs and stuff when you've been being poisoned and drugged, and it's hard to prove it, right? But I have the will to live, and I want to move forward. So, but yeah, so Vermont happened, and he actually let me stay longer. I was supposed to leave in June 2025 last year, and he let me stay till September, which was very kind of him. And they had to do construction on the apartment, and I tried to do my best to clean that place top to bottom. Like, I'm talking, like, I spent 5 to 6 hours before I got in the car and drove to Indiana. Like, I put in a lot of elbow grease. It looked beautiful. It was immaculate. I mean, granted, Bonnie kind of, she didn't treat the couch too well, and I tried to fix that as best as I could, but I donated a lot of stuff like plateware and containers and different things, you know, and it was good enough for me, you know. I had the smallest of closets I've ever had in my life in that apartment, but it was good enough for me because I didn't have to worry too much, and it had a digital keypad. That was probably the more safer one. I didn't have to worry about someone coming into that apartment, And yeah, and I got to go on the bus to go to Burlington, and I got to eat a creamy. I learned what a creamy was. It was cool. Like it was it was different from what I thought. I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it that much, and I did. Then I think I had a heart attack though the week before I left because I was so stressed out. I was completely red from here into the back, and I had horrible pain radiating all the way down. It was like numb. My jugular vein was pulsing. It was horrible. I had a horrible headache, such pressure in my head, and chest pain. And I didn't have the insurance anymore because I got off the Medicaid, I think, or something happened. And I didn't want to go to the hospital and burden, the people there at the hospital. So I pushed through it. I don't know how, but I did. You know what it was? I had some medications. I took aspirin, and I took, I'm not a doctor, but I know a little bit about medicine. I took aspirin, and I took this medication that is used for hypertension, and it lowers blood pressure. And then I also used Ativan as well, that's a psychiatric thing that you don't want to use. I used Ativan, which is lorazepam, but it immediately brought some sort of relief, but it didn't take away the pain of what I went through. But I was so distraught because I was like, I had X amount of time to leave, and then I found an Airbnb in Indiana. The couch was orange. It looked really cute in the pictures. I was like, oh, I couldn't believe I was going to Indiana. I was like, why am I going? I'm like, out of all places, I was like, I want to go more West Coast. Like, let me go towards the West. And I went to Indiana. The first month was okay, and then I extended it. The vibes, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Vermont, like a little bit, but it was kind of more on a busy street, like on a busy thoroughfare. And the design of it internally felt kind of like the other apartment I was at and in Vermont. It was different though. It wasn't a duplex. It was I think quadrupleplex, and I think someone lived in the thing below permanently. I did have my own mailbox. There was no elevator or anything. I took the stairs, and yeah, like I tried to make it the best I could. And I had some few good nights there. I'll be honest, I had a few good months there, and then the last few months it was just, I don't know if I said something or did something, it all changed. Everything changed, and my food started getting tampered with. It was horrible. Like it was absolutely horrible. I nearly almost lost my life, and shit got real. I remember I called up this guy that I was dating, not really dating or seeing, I don't know, dating, whatever, I spent Thanksgiving with him, and I felt so stupid because I called him in a panic, freaking out, and because I would eat, and then I had the DoorDash scare there. I had food delivered, and it was McDonald's, and I love McDonald's, but the soda I think was like tampered with or something, and like I would drink something, and then 3 hours later my heart rate would rise, and then my eyes would get blurry, and I felt really loopy and disoriented. And then even in Indiana I would see a bunch of SUVs, like Escalades, go by, and I'm like, what is going on? I tried to make the best of it. What's it called? They had this awesome park called Riley Park. It was beautiful. They had this lake, this river with like these ducks in it that were so cute. And it had a skate park. It had a basketball court, a bike park. It had this really cool path. I did actually go on I did frisbee golf with a guy there. That was pretty cool. He was really nice. He was really sweet too. I didn't know, I don't know. It was just, I felt so weird because I was going through a lot still, and I didn't know if I was worthy enough, or I didn't consider myself dateable, because to me, if you don't have a job, and I don't know if you've seen Dateable, because a guy I would think would want a girl with a job, and I didn't have a job, and I was looking for one, diligently, but I felt like all I could offer that I was good for was maybe like casual kind of situation. So I relayed that to him, and you know, I had a few good moments with some people, and I got to, like I said, I had Thanksgiving with this one dude who he made me fried chicken. It was really good though. It was so good. Oh my God. The batter was like, and he was really good. He knew a lot about wine, so that was really attractive. And we cooked, and I'm not gonna get into it, but you know, it was fun. My mind was going to like remembering certain things in the kitchen, and we got kind of distracted. But anyways, I'm not gonna get into it. But I ended up calling him because I freaked out because I think was exposed to a weird gas downstairs. I nearly almost lost my life. That's why I don't feel like this is a joke. Nothing prepares you for that. The psychological turmoil and the hatred and the suffering and abuse that I don't deserve. And I feel like there's a group of people sincerely who just want me gone.